So let me ask you a follow-up question on this. Do you think that there will be more ops or RevOps people becoming CROs in the future?
I think it's a pretty good path for a RevOps to grow into a CRO role. And I think as a CRO, it's a pretty good pedigree or pretty good skill set to have a background in revenue operations. Yes, because typically RevOps already has that kind of broad spectrum experience across the organization, across the entire go-to-market engine that I think lends itself very well to be a CRO because they're typically very data driven. They're operational. They look at what's working, what's not. They're typically very unbiased, which I think a good CRO is as well. And they're not really leaning towards making investments to sales or just marketing or just CS if they come from that part of the organization.
It's funny as we're talking about this, I'm like, huh, RevOps and partnerships are really similar, right? Because my experience as in being in partnerships is you have to figure out, okay, how do we work with marketing for this partner? How do we figure out how that we enable sales with this? What is the operational setup for this? How do CS people work with partners? Like you have to have the broad spectrum. And it is really, really, really hard to find a good partnerships leader, like someone that can do all of this. And typically they get in through one of those channels and has to learn the rest of it. And I'm just like, oh, no wonder we get along, Demetrius. We both have to do the same thing, which is fascinating. But I think the CROs, the ones that weren't great, they were very sales focused. And that leads to a really tough relationship with product often and with operations teams. And I think if you can have someone who has some sales experience, like I think that is important because it is part of it or CS experience, but then goes down the operations path and comes back. God, what a dream it would be to have a CRO that has that background. That's just a way different mindset and holistic mindset.
Yeah, but I think there are some trade-offs. Definitely, you will need to let go big chunk of your tactical work that you do in RevOps to become a CRO and acquire that more opportunistic thinking in your day-to-day job. But at the core, you're still going to use your analytical skill set and your ability to allocate resources, which I think are getting you closer to work with the CFO at that point.
Yep.
Your story becomes more cohesive and you start speaking the language of other functions at that level. Let's be honest. If you listen to any investor relations call, what do they talk about?
The money.
Right? Exactly. So that's what really matters. That's how a lot of compensation will be defined in the company because you know how to talk about money, you know what the money is, and you can tell people where the money going to find in the future. If you're not able to do this, you're either not a good CFO, which is obvious, CEO as well, and then anyone else who's on this call is a CRO, I don't know, whoever. You need to be fluent with that. You might not be an expert, but fluent. But it's a trade-off. There's definitely a trade-off, and I think the rebels will be thrown in the hat more often. I'm not saying it's going to be dominant because I can't foresee that, but depending on the stage of the company, depending on the size of the company, the industry, etc., I think will be somewhere in the mix.